We respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức tặng thịnh, vì thứ pháp hội cấp nhất thiết chúng sanh. Xin chiêm diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như há liều sanh thoát tư ly khổ đà lạc, đốc chứng vô sanh. Homage of the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sa Nan Thổ Chú Chế Đô Ye Ở La Hư Đi San Miao Son Pu Tô Chế. Nam mô Ta Đắc Tha Tô Ya La Ya La Đề Tam Miệu Tam Bồ Đà Tòa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I am able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu sheng 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 wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. Excuse me. Wo jin jian wen de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhe shi yi. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master Ching Liang, Great Master YongHua, all good monks and nuns, and all good known advisors of Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、精良大士、师父上人、各位出家人、各位善知识、弥陀佛。Chư Phật Bồ Tát, Kính Thánh Hương, Đại sư Hòa Thượng Tiên Hóa, quý thầy cô, các vị thị sư thức A Di Đà Phật. What happened to DTT? I don't see a... Don't you keep track? This is inter-temple. Hello everyone, today is the, 16th, 17th? 17th of February, 2023. We are here at Wei Mountain Temple to continue teaching the Dharma. We're right now discussing the prologue written by Master Ching Liang, doing door number 2, slide number 264. Thank you all for coming. Okay, let's jump right into it. The second, clarifying in which it is contained. Within the 3 store, the sutra properly is only contained as sutra.
第二名所摄者，此经三藏之中。
Sutra properly is contained, okay. 265, we're continuing. He's continuing this thing here, this overview of what this Avatamsaka Sutra is about. He says there's 3 stores. So there's a store there is the Vinaya store, Sutra store, and the Shastra store. And this Avatamsaka Sutra clearly is contained within the Sutra store. Sutra store has all the sutras that the Buddha explained. And where is the properly? Where does the properly come from? I didn't notice it until right now. The sutra properly is contained as sutra. There's no need for properly here. Am I correct, you Chinese people? I don't know where this properly comes from. That's why it doesn't make sense. Basically, this is a sutra. Therefore, it's a container sutra store. There's no need to say properly. 266. Yet it has connections with the other two, because the 10 treasuries and so forth, chapters extensively set forth the precepts. And because asking for clarification and so forth, chapters set forth the doctrines of the Shastras.
正为修多罗舍，兼全于二，十藏等品，广显戒故，问明等品，显论义故。
Okay, I think there's some grammar problems here. It has connections. And they're asking for set forth the doctrines. Anyway, just minor grammatical, semantic issues here. Okay, sorry about that. Work in progress here. What he's talking about is that he's quoting the fact that, first of all, this is a sutra, and therefore it's part of the sutra store of the Tripitaka. However, as in Buddhism, it's not that uncommon for sutras to contain some part of the other stores. The other two stores being Vinaya stores, which he says here. Some chapters, like 10 treasuries, will talk about precepts. And some chapters, a small number of chapters, also speak about the Shastra concepts, doctrines of the Shastras. And therefore, Sutra here, the Avatamsaka Sutra, also has connections to the other stores to provide a complete teaching. That's why it's called the perfect teaching. Avatamsaka Sutra, when you learn this sutra here, to study the sutra, investigate the sutra, we are investigating the entire spectrum of Mahayana. Okay, meaning it contains critical teachings of the sutras, which will help us develop our samadhis, understand how to develop our samadhis. This is why, again, most monks and nuns need to learn how to explain sutras, because that's key to their own development of their samadhis before they can teach others how to develop samadhis properly. So monks and nuns, by all means, need to learn to elaborate sutras. And then, and behind the scenes, the monks and nuns need also learn about Vinaya. Vinaya, which are rules of morality, which is the core, which is the foundation of all spiritual practices. Okay? You don't have to be Buddhist. You don't have to believe in Buddhism. You don't have to believe in Mahayana. You can believe in Hinayana and non-Buddhist pursuits. All your spiritual attainment, okay, correspond to the level of purity of your, meaning that if you reach a certain level of concentration or samadhi, that's associated with your committing fewer kinds of offenses. Is that clear? This is so important. The monks and nuns don't explain that often enough. Why do we bother studying precepts? And why don't we study it anymore? First of all, we study precepts because the rules of morality, because they are the core foundation of our samadhi. Whatever concentration power you have, it rests itself on this foundation called morality. So if you are, let's say you have a samadhi level of a second stage arhat, okay, then your purity, your propensity to commit offenses is that of a second stage arhat, meaning that you don't commit the kind of offenses. You are purer than, let's say, a lower level person. There's no two ways about it. If you're lower level than someone else, then you're not as pure as a high level person, period. So it's funny for people to criticize others and say, oh, you are not keeping precepts, you're not keeping precepts. But actually, they are more impure than the person they're criticizing, bar none. That's the way it is. They can justify it all they want, but they're not as pure. They're committing more offenses than a high-level person. Is that clear? Okay? So that's why in the sutras itself, we learn about samadhi, but actually we also need to connect you with the foundation, the core of the samadhi. Does it make sense to you? So in other words, in order for you to reach a certain level of concentration and samadhi, okay, you do it two ways. One is forcefully, like the Hinayana or the non-Buddhist practitioners, they grind it out, basically. They have to grind it out. Okay? When they grind it out, this natural process of meditation and similar practices will help you, bring you up there. That's brute force. The other way is for you, another way for you is to purify yourself. Remember? If you reach its level of concentration, samadhi power, then correspondingly you're able to be this pure. Not lower, not higher. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Number 2.
The level of purity can be related to offenses created in past lives too.
I'm sorry?
I ask, is the level of purity of a person is related to the level to offenses created in past lives or only in this life?
Every time you engage in spiritual practice, you reach something called high water level mark. For example, this lifetime, you happen to reach third dhyana, like most monks and nuns do. Okay? Most monks and nuns reach third dhyana and they get stuck because they don't realize of the pitfalls. Their teachers did not teach them about the pitfalls of a third stage, a third dhyana, because they don't study the sutras. That's why they don't understand the pitfalls of getting there, of being there. Okay? So that's why many monks and nuns get stuck in third dhyana. And that next lifetime, they cultivate and they get stuck again in third dhyana, and third dhyana, and third dhyana. That's what happens. In other words, When you reach third dhyana, there's this level called third dhyana, next lifetime, it's fairly easy for you to get up there. Okay? At any level, fourth dhyana, same thing. You can reach up there pretty easily. That's how it works. That's why when you do spiritual practices, when you do chant, when you meditate, and you reach a certain level, your meditation efforts are never in vain. It's your treasure right there. The money you make, you have to abandon them after you die. But your level of samadhi, your spiritual practice, you take it with you everywhere you go. Is that clear? That's your treasury right there. Okay? That's your treasure right there. You carry with you life after life after life after life. Yes, sir. 3.
Master, I heard that, I don't know if this is true or not, I want to hear your perspective. There is concentration and then there is mindfulness. I heard that we gain liberation by mindfulness. We don't need a deep concentration, but we need to cultivate being mindful. What do you think about that?
That person does not know how to teach meditation. Meditation, sole purpose, primary purpose, is to develop concentration or samadhi. The Sanskrit term for concentration is samadhi. Okay? We use a Sanskrit term because it has more meanings than just concentration. If you understand the process, it's more than just concentration. Regardless, you can call it concentration since we're speaking English, but better yet, use samadhi if you are in the know. Okay, never mind. If you meditate, then the primary purpose of meditation is bring your level of samadhi or concentration higher and higher and higher. That's my personal beliefs. You're not supposed to be stuck. Okay? It would be a waste of time to be stuck. That's why you avoid being stuck at 0, at 1, at 2, and so forth. Okay? Has always been the case, but the Chinese never expressly put it that way. I put it that way because I find that now when people teach meditation and practice meditation, they fail to see the real purpose of meditation. And meditation is not for you to sit there and feel peaceful and blissful. That's baloney. It's not meditation. Meditation is for you to build your concentration. Is that clear? Okay.
Thank you.
It's not mindfulness. Mindfulness is, there's many ways to explain it. I will explain it simply for you because you asked. For most people, especially non-Chan practitioners, mindfulness is an application of concentration. Meaning that once you have concentration, okay, you're able to sustain the concentration. That's it. Okay? That's how you use that concentration, okay, to apply it towards being mindful of a particular topic. Okay? So mindfulness is a use of concentration. Okay, which help brings you next level of concentration. So to say that when you practice you don't need concentration, run away from those people. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay, and there's plenty of junk information on the internet, so it's perfectly okay. And not all teachers are really properly trained and certified to teach. Therefore, this is why it behooves upon you to make sure that you have what is called the Dharma selecting eye. You need to listen, and you're able to select the proper practice for your own sakes, because no one else will do it for you. It's called Dharma selecting eye. That's the first thing you need to have, meaning that you need to recognize what's the proper form of spiritual practice, and so that you can pursue it. Okay, that's why you need to listen to, in Buddhism, how do we develop this Dharma selecting eye? We develop it by learning only from the sages, not unenlightened people. Unenlightened people do not know what they're talking about. For example, they don't understand the difference between mindfulness and concentration. That's why they teach you wrong. Okay? They're telling you things that are appealing to you, not what's good for you. Okay?
Thank you, Master.
You're welcome. All right. So that's why the sutras, which teach us about concentration, okay, about samadhi, need to help you build the Vinaya foundation, the purity foundation. That's why sutras must also go into the concepts of purity, concepts in order to build up the next level of samadhi. You understand that? Remember, you are currently at this level of concentration. Therefore, your purity is this level, okay? Supposed to be at this level. For you to go higher up, okay, you need, again, either to grind it out or build up the purity, among other things, okay? So that's why part of the sutra teaching here need to prepare you, pave the way for you to also increase your purity as well. Any problems with that? Buddhism is comprehensive. We don't give you piecemeal, okay? Our interest is to help you develop and be, what is the expression? You Koreans wouldn't have it, all you can be. Like the Marines, that's a slogan for Marines. Be all you can be, I think. Is it Marines or Army? Master Xianjie. And why do I ask him? He doesn't know anything about Marines. Okay? Be all you can be, that kind of expression. So our goal is for you to be at your best. We don't waste time. We don't waste your time either. Okay? So that's why the sutras must be comprehensive. Vinaya also must be comprehensive. Yes, go first.
Hello, Master. What is the definition of purity? I'm not pure. I don't really understand it.
Well, you're pure enough at your level. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to stay there. Okay?
But that's not answering.
That's the thing. If you're not pure enough, eventually, let's say you are supposed to be at this purity level, but you keep on creating offenses of the other lower level. Guess what happens? It's going to happen to you. You will regress. You weren't told that, huh? You guys only learn how I'm going to feel good, I'm going to go improve. But no, there's also, if you improve, you can also regress as well. Here in our Saha world. Okay? And so that's why your current level of samadhi corresponds, if you've been there long enough, that means you're pure enough to stay at that level.
Sorry, Master, this is not answering the question of what is purity.
Yes, this is what I hate about speaking to Americans. I hate
about the
it. You know, I was doing a class for Asia, Chan class earlier, and I forgot to finish my point. On one of the questions was asking about where is my level and so forth. I didn't really directly answer the question. And guess what? The Korean person didn't dare pursue me. He says, it's not polite to pursue the master. Here, the Americans, they pursue you. They have no respect at all. But go ahead. Since we're all Americans, it's okay. I'm also pursue my masters. But if you keep it up and you pursue me and I cannot answer you, eventually I move to Korea. I'm warning you. Yes, go ahead, pursue.
That was really the question. What's the definition of purity? And also I'm thinking about the translation. It doesn't seem like there's a Buddhist jargon that corresponding to that, or I cannot think of one. So is there a technical term for that?
Where? Which Chinese translation? Which
purity. How would you translate that? Is a Buddhist jargon for it?
Buddhist jargon, the purity in Chinese, you mean? This girl, she speaks, and every time she asks a question, I have to ask her 3 more.
Sorry, Master. Exactly, that's my question. Purity is more of a common word. I'm just thinking about what is the Buddhist terminology for it, and then what is the corresponding Chinese for it?
精进.
清净.
When you're Chinese and you're asking me the Chinese word, I'm giving the Chinese a hard time.
Could you explain that still? What is 清净?
Explain Chinese? Wait, it's your language. Why do you have to explain your language to you?
What is purity? Like,
purity is precepts. What is the matter with you?
Okay, thank you. That works.
Purity is that when you are not creating offenses. Precepts will point out where the boundaries are. When you cross over the line, then you're violating precepts. You're losing your purity. Any other American questions? See, children learn how I put pressure back on them so that they don't they don't dare pursue you. Huh? Okay? Learn from the master. Just kidding. Okay. Where were we again? Yeah. Yes. South Carolina.
Master, does your ancestors and your great-granddad, like their karma, if they have bad karma, does that relate to you personally? I mean to me personally.
My daddy's karma has nothing to do with yours.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is, okay, does my ancestors and my great-granddad, if they did something like created an offense?
Why did you get my ancestors into the picture? They had nothing to do with you.
Just want to make sure if it's not bad karma related to me.
Yeah, my ancestors has nothing to do with you. Okay? But your ancestors might. Okay? For example, okay, let's say that never mind about your ancestors, because with all due respect, I'm not going to touch your ancestors. Okay? I'm going to assume that, let's say, you create your own karmas. Let's say you make money, okay, by stealing from others. And you leave that money to your children. Okay? Then you're passing on your offenses to your children because they use your money. If they give it to me, it's a different story. Then I carry your retribution. Does it make sense? So it goes on and on and on and on. Someone has to shoulder the burden. That's why. Okay, so we have what is the physical manifestation? Cancerous cells. The dad passes on to the next, to the next, to the next. The mom, the parents pass it on. Remember? Okay? That's one example. Specific example why some illnesses are hereditary. Okay, so you pass on your offenses to the next generation. Yes, go first.
Master, is there a way for us to tell if we made offenses or broke precepts? It's kind of scary that we cannot tell when we do those wrong things. Thank you.
My, are we so polite nowadays? Okay, you're welcome. Is there a way to tell you break precepts? Well, typically, when you break precepts, bad things happen to you. That's how I first learned about precepts. I was meditating, I was fine, and I started breaking precepts, and bad things started happening to me. During meditation, no problem. As soon as I stood up, someone broke my windshield, Chung Sunim bumped into the back of my car. Bad things happen. And that's the most concrete way of knowing that you did something wrong. Okay? And guess what? Most people, they ignore it. They don't dare face it. Okay? And other ways, of course, is that you learn about the precepts, and therefore, you also are taught on what constitute a violation, and therefore, you specifically will know that you did something wrong, you did something that specifically violates the precepts. Okay? And then, of course, another thing is that your teacher might remind you in one way or the other. Okay? Sometimes it's just like very nicely. Sometimes it's like yelling. Sometimes it's slapping in the face and so forth. Sometimes beating and so forth. Did I answer your question? Okay, I assume that that's the case. Okay. Okay, so we talked about the fact that sutras explain about samadhis, and it's very important. This is why the samadhi is the core of the Buddhist training. When we train you, we have the core of our training is to help build your samadhi level. Yes, DTT.
Can you hear me now, Master?
Yeah.
Okay. Piggybacking on Chwin's comment about we don't know our past, is there like a dose of repentance that maybe we should just do just to be safe, to prevent, I don't know, like diseases, cancer, stuff like that?
Come again?
Since we don't know what kind of offenses we created, do you recommend is there like a dose maybe you recommend to us, or something that we should do to kind of cover ourselves for anything we could have done in the past for us to not get sick or have cancer or something, accidents, disasters?
Well, just because I tell you that you have some retribution that's passed on to you by your family, by your wife, by your children, and by your relatives and so forth, doesn't mean you should be frightened, okay? We all have countless types of retributions. So that's why there's no point in being paranoid about it. We only have to deal with the kind of obstructions to our spiritual practice. The nice thing about it is that the creditors, the people we owe to, they only can come at us in so many ways. Okay? It's limited channels that can access us. So we only need to deal with those channels where they access us. That's all. And then the next wave will come, then the next wave will come, and the next wave will come. So we deal with them as they come. There's no need to be paranoid. And that's cultivation. Cultivation is that you improve. This is not explained by the Chinese. I spell it out for you. I demystify it for you. And if you understand, you believe, you can make progress quicker. Cultivation is when those obstructions arise. If you successfully know how to resolve those obstructions, that's how you improve quicker. If you have no obstructions, you cannot improve that quickly. And that's the difference between Hinayana and Mahayana. Hinayana, they run away from problems. They say, I want to feel peaceful. I want to be blissful. This is a clear advantage of our spiritual practice. My spiritual practice brings me the kind of bliss and peace that I don't normally experience in my daily life. So it's a great, great advantage for me to go in there, okay, and purify myself. Okay. However, when you do that, then your progress is a lot slower. Whereas in Mahayana, we have this thing called great assembly practice, where we practice together, unlike the Hinayana who practice by themselves. Okay? That's why in American Mahayana, I stress that we get together on the weekends or during the Qis and so forth, and by getting together, okay, that's when our obstructions really proliferate. Okay, and that's why we can pick and choose which obstructions to solve. That's how we improve a lot quicker than the Hinayana. And we are a lot stronger than Hinayana, because Hinayana, the pathway of theirs is so narrow. Okay, they need quiescence, they need quietness, and therefore when it's noisy, they can't function. Where we learn to function in all sorts of conditions, which enables us to improve a lot quicker because we have a lot more obstructions to deal with, and which makes us also a lot more durable. Am I clear? Today, I also would like to welcome Teji Sunim. Am I pronouncing her name properly? Teji Sunim at Jewel Mountain Temple. Okay, she's joining us, and she just came from a meditation retreat. You know, the Koreans, they're very, very, they have many, many blessings. Their Sunims there are encouraged to go to these temples where they focus on the Chan meditation practice alone. Okay, whether they do Hua-To and whatever they do, okay, is total dedication in a small group. Okay, so that's the core of their practice, is they do the Hua-To or what kind of meditation in a small group setting. Whereas for us, we do things like a Chanchi, where we have a bunch of people from all sorts of persuasions, from Spain, who is not as pure, from South Carolina, which is not even pure, you know, and so forth. And all these people get together, okay, and it's chaotic, okay? But in that form of practice, if you do it right, you'll progress a lot quicker. And this is why what I call American Chan, because the Koreans, the Chinese style, they prefer to go into the smaller setting on there a lot less emphasis on the certain teaching, because they have these recipes passed down from great teachers like, I'm afraid to tell you that, for example, Chinese have patriarchs like Master Xu, who is the 8th ground Bodhisattva. He passed down all these techniques of Chan meditation, which are far better than the Korean, far better than the Vietnamese, far better than Hinayana persuasion. I don't care. You call it Tibetan, you call it whatever. Master Xu's level is so much higher than them. That's why the way he trained his disciples is based on his own Chan experience. That's why they're very profound, they're very effective. Okay? And they're based on the big assembly, the great assembly. Okay? However, unfortunately for them, for the Chinese now, the problem with the Chinese is that they have the proper technology, but they're lacking one thing, only one thing. Master Xu Yun. You understand? What Master Xu Yun passed down are just mechanics. Mechanics. You sit in full lotus, you meditate for 1 hour, you stand up and you walk for a half hour, an hour, and so forth, and you sit again and again. So they have these techniques. Same thing with Master Xu that pass them down to the next generation, my generation. All those are just recipes. Do recipes make great chefs? No. Not at all. The great chefs are learned from studying directly, preferably directly under another great chef. Agree or disagree? Right there. The best chefs, and the resumes, by the way, they say, I work for that Michelin star restaurant under this chef so-and-so. And you know, he's learning had all these insights from the chef personally. You grind it out every day. You slice the carrots. You clean the vegetables. But the chef occasionally would drop by and say, hey, don't do it like that. Do it this way. That's what counts. It's not the recipe for washing the vegetables and measuring spoons and so forth. It is the how to fix a problem, how to adjust when the shrimp is not as salty as the last batch of last week. You know, how you 调味, you adjust the flavors. That's what your chef will teach you. It's not the recipe. Is that clear? So if you only look at the recipe of like a joy cooking, anyone has a joy cooking? I used to consult that. Okay, it used to be my Bible. Joy cooking, how to make crepes, how to make spaghetti. Okay, but they don't teach you how to adapt to if you change tomatoes. If tomato is not in season, they're not as good. So what do? You buy San Marzano tomato from Italy. Okay, I'm kidding. Okay. So you see, that's what's missing in the Chan schools, in the Chan tradition, that the Chinese are so proud of themselves. I call all of them Chinese because Chinese is so pervasive. The techniques, the recipes are so advanced. Okay? So that's why most of the Koreans and the Vietnamese and even most Americans here who practice Mahayana Chan basically are Chinese because they follow those recipes. However, they don't have the great chef to tell them how to adjust. For example, we have this guy here. The reason I brought up Master Yun is that he says very proudly, he says, every year I go to Master Yun's temple for 7 years now, 8 years now. Okay? And I said, 8 years? And that's all you got? That's how far you got? That's all you can concentrate? It's because no one help him make the adjustments. That's what's missing. The person who says, don't do this, don't do that, do this. Why? Because if the chef doesn't do that, he'll lose customers. Am I making sense to you? That's why I call American Chan. American Chan is that I hope in the future you have American teachers, meaning people who are trained here. They're not necessarily white or yellow or black. American is no such a thing as American. Okay? It's all a mixed bag. They're short, they're tall, they're fat, they're skinny, they're black, they're white, they're red, they're yellow, and so forth. Okay? When they're here, they receive the training here, and they will understand the importance of providing instructions. That's how we teach Chan. It's not simply giving you recipes and rigid lines here. Don't bring in your watch. Make sure it has the alarm is off. Make sure your phone is on silent. Okay? All those rules. I went to my master's temple where we had 3 pages of don't do this, don't do that. 3 pages of don't. I can't remember any of them. Okay? Yeah. It's not recipes, folks. It's Master YongHua, when he was alive, teaching them. Because they all know that there's one person here called Master YongHua, the first American patriarch, who says, do it this way, and you can believe it. It's a proper way. Okay? Whereas now, there's no such a thing. That's why it's no longer the same thing. No one is correcting them. Chan meditation, Chan training is instructions from a good known advisor. It's not sitting, folks. That's why the Mahayana practitioners are much faster than Hinayana, because they have better technology and they have something called a good knowing advisor who understands sutras, who understands Vinaya. Is that clear? Can we go back to my slides, please? Thank you very much. Now, connection with the other two. 全宇宙 ，OK， 兼全于二，这是有色 ，OK， 真为现有色，真兼全于二，有的显光 ，OK， now it also means it also has the sutra also has connection to shastras. If you only build concentration and you don't know how to use the concentration, then you become a brute. That's all you are. Samadhi or concentration is like your muscles. You're strong, you can lift heavy, but that's all you can do. What you need, once you have your strength, is know how to use your strength. That is where shastras come in. If you only build your muscles, okay, then you tend to make mistakes with your muscles. If, on the other hand, you build your muscles and learn how to use your muscles properly, that's called wisdom, then it's much better for you. That's why sutras must, when we explain sutras, it also includes helping you develop wisdoms at this current level where you are right now. Your samadhi is here. You need to learn how to use that samadhi. That's shastra. It's over here. That's why Buddhism is complete. In the middle, okay, my head here, okay, is samadhi. This samadhi here will help you build your purity or your base, strengthen your base here. Okay? And at the same time, it also needs to help you know how to use your samadhi properly. That's wisdom. Wisdom is what is taught in shastras. That's why it's very rare for you, for us, to find a great teacher like Master YongHua who understands all three. He understands Vinaya, he understands Samadhi, he also understands Shastras. He's called Tripitaka Master. Okay? The second guy right now doesn't. How many people, how often are you going to find such a teacher like Master YongHua? Very, very rare. Okay? So that's why sutras, as you practice to a higher level, are actually comprised of both Vinaya and Shastras as well, which is the case in the Avatamsaka Sutra. This explains why most monks and nuns, in particular patriarchs, do not dare explain the Avatamsaka Sutra because they don't have this balanced understanding of Vinaya, Sutras, and Shastras. Okay, so when we study this Avatamsaka Sutra here, we planted the seeds for all three. How wonderful it is. We don't actually point out to you, but it doesn't matter. You're listening to it, okay? And our discussing things back and forth like this actually help you build those foundations, Vinaya, Shastras, and Sutras. Questions? Okay, 268. If, moreover, one divides the teachings of the sutras on the basis of doctrines, then there are 10 stores in all. This is because it is complete with hosts and attendants appearing infinitely, and because the teachings and meanings interfuse.
若就修多罗中一意简教，则为十藏舍具足主办，显无禁锢，教义融固。
Okay, 269. When you go deeper into what sutras teach, the doctrine contain, there are about 10 stores, meaning that Vinaya and Shastra and Vinaya and Sutra stores, 3, okay? Each of them also contains the other 3 mixed in 9, and something called miscellaneous store, that's why you have 10. So actually you have infinitely many levels of gradations of the teachings contained, okay? And it is, it's because the complete the host and attendants appearing infinitely. It's because, very simply put, when the Buddhas explain the Avatamsaka Sutra, it's for the sake of all the people present there. You don't explain sutras for the sake of demonstrating how much you know. Okay? We explain sutras not to show you how wise we are, how of an encyclopedic mind we have. We explain sutras in order to benefit you, present, here, there, hopefully in the future as well. Okay? And it's because when the Buddhas explain this particular sutras, it's geared towards the people who were in attendance, which were Mahasattvas and Bodhisattvas, primarily. Okay? Mahasattvas are high-level Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas are low-level. Okay, and therefore, when he explains sutra, it's for their sake. Okay, and therefore, the sutra must be able to help all those people at those levels, all the bodhisattvas, all the mahasattvas. Because a mahasattva in attendance who would sit there in attendance, they would be sitting on their lotus days, they'll be surrounded by their own attendants, very much like an emperor never travels by himself. Okay, so these Mahasattvas, when they came to listen to the sutras, they have their own attendants, and the attendants present there are actually the cream of the crop. So that's why the teachings must be able to accommodate infinite different levels of the people present there. Meaning what? What does it have to do with us? Same thing right now. You're listening to the sutra right now, your various levels, okay, believe it or not, are from 0 to very high. Okay, not as high as the people in attendance at Shakyamuni Buddha's assembly, but pretty high. Okay, and therefore the explanation must be able to accommodate that full range as well. Not just here, but in Korea, as in San Francisco, in San Jose, and so forth. And the people on the internet, and the people who will be watching the videos as well. Okay? Now and in the future. That's how it works. And so you can see, so academically, the great master Ching Yang says that the teachings and meanings interfuse, meaning that the teachings at the different levels, different schools, different levels, and the meanings, okay, they have to jive, they have to coalesce and work together. 270, within the two stores, it is only the Bodhisattva store. Because if one distinguishes provisional and actual, it is only contained in the one division of Bodhisattva store, the provisional not containing it.
二藏之中为菩萨藏，若分全实，但菩萨藏一分所摄，全不摄故。
Okay, now we go to a different concept. Okay, a Mahayana concept that only Mahayana people would be taught. This belongs to the Bodhisattva store, meaning the store that contains all the teachings of the Bodhisattvas. The other store being the teachings of the sound hearers or the Avatamsaka Buddhas, which are much lower level. We call it sound hearer because they're pretty actually very limited. Bodhisattva is no comparison. Okay, it's like, when you want a comparison, it's like a bubble versus the vast ocean that the teaching contains. I'm not kidding you. Hinayana store is about the size of a bubble, and Bodhisattva store is about the size of the great ocean. Infinite compared to a bubble, if you will. Okay? So this Avatamsaka Sutra is designed to teach, to train Bodhisattvas. Okay? Is Bodhisattva store? What are the difference? Bodhisattva store is called actual store, and the Arhat stores, sound hearer stores, are called the provisional. This is a very important distinction in Mahayana. We offend the Hinayana people, the Theravada people, and all the other people, okay, non-Buddhist people as well. But Mahayana, we're not afraid to offend you. We need to train our people. Okay? Yes, 3.
Master, what do you mean by sound hearers? They hear actual sound during meditation?
What happened is that they're of limited capabilities, and therefore the Buddha first taught those people by using sounds. Okay? And by listening to the Buddha's sermons, these people were certified to sagehood.
Thank you, Master.
Whereas later on, when you go to the Bodhisattvas, you don't necessarily need to use sounds anymore, if you will. Sound is through your ears. It's one of the 6 sense organs you have. And the sound hearers, for them, it's best they hear it. Okay? They need to hear it. They primarily open the wisdom by hearing the teaching. Okay? But there's more. There's more better ways to teach people depending on your propensities. Some people don't like sound. Some people are more, let me see, graphic, more like drawing things. Some people like W1 is more musical, you know. Some people are more like, I don't know what else do we have. She's more like smelling, I think. I don't know, I just picked someone. Okay? So the Bodhisattva stores is the actual store versus the provisional, which is the Hinayana store. Okay? Provisional is one concept about provisional versus actual here. This is the concept I need you to understand. In Buddhism, we learn Buddhism, there are two stores, 2 teachings, provisional and actual. As the name implies, provisional is temporary. Okay? In Mahayana, it's called expedience. Expedient meaning that it's a temporary use. Only after you use it, you have to drop it. You cannot hang on to it. Okay? Everything else is just temporary. Okay? And what provisional? So for example, provisional from, since most of you are Asian, I will refer to the Confucian teaching. Okay? Confucius dominates the Asian culture. Okay? Which I find it to be pitiful. Okay? But in order to relate to you and give you a point of reference, in the Asian culture, it says, 男女授受不亲, 礼也, 受, is it 受? 少逆, 受之以守权也. Okay? Now, it explains what is provisional in a Chinese culture. It basically says men and women should not be in direct contact. That's a Chinese culture. Okay? And that's the rule. Li is rule. Okay? The proper etiquette. You don't touch. So for example, I bring it up because I want to remind you, in the monks and nuns, it's the same thing. We don't want to touch. You don't want to touch the monks and nuns. You want to give us something, put it down on the table, okay, so that we avoid touching. Whether you're a lay person or monk or nun, same thing. You don't pass it on like this. Here's your mic. No, you put the mic down. You don't pass it on directly like this. Do we understand each other? We're getting bigger and bigger, so I find it much harder to police you. Before, I only had to and people understand right away. Now it's too many of you, and I'm even not around that often anymore. So this is part of cultivation. You don't touch others. This is very important, folks. I bring it up to you because it's a tip for you. You do not let others touch you. Don't. The Westerners, what do? How are you? Nice to meet you. Huh? Too much touching and even squeezing. That's no good. So in principle, you avoid touching, especially between men and women. But nowadays it's women, men as well, because we don't know, what's woman, what's men anymore. We're totally confused. Okay, that distinction is obsolete, I'm told. Okay, I don't understand what obsolete means, but why is it obsolete? Clearly man is yang, women is yin. It's something where in between there's many gradations as well, apparently. Okay, no wonder our young kids are so confused. They don't know how to identify themselves anymore. Okay, but that's a different story. So here, in the Asian culture, the clue here, which is we should be grateful for, the Asians are very grateful for it, okay, is that they avoid physical contact. However, if your sister-in-law is drowning, are you going to stand there and watch her drown? You still have to grab her to save her. That is provisional. Is that clear? You provisionally, temporarily grab your sister-in-law, save her, and after that, after she's saved, then you drop her into the water again. I mean, on the ground, firma terra. Does it make sense? Okay? And that's Buddhism. Provisional is basically you grab her, your sister-in-law, just to save her and aggravate your brother some more. Not funny. God, Americans, terrible. So serious. You guys are too serious. The Asians laugh and say, I know what you mean. Really? You are such a misogynist? You hate women, don't you? What can I say? Because I'm confused. Is she a woman or is she a man? That's my excuse. Never mind. Okay, we're digressing. So the point here is a provisional is that when the Buddha taught those sound hearers is simply a temporary teaching, meaning it's not the whole story. He only gave them, let's say, half of the story, okay? Not the complete picture. Because that's all they can handle. You give them more, they rebel. You don't know how it's like. People tell me, the people say this, some people I met recently are so adamant. They know what they want. They know what's important to them. They know everything. They're so sure of themselves. And what can we do? I zip my mouth. I say, okay, you're right. You know so much. You're so wonderful. Mwah! Okay? Because it's provisional. The mwah is provisional. Does it make sense? Because eventually, I feel threatened. I feel danger. Okay? So provisional is that it's used temporarily, okay, but it's all in order to wait for you, wait for better opportunity to tell you the actual truth, the real facts. Yes, 8.
From Brady, how do you teach compassion and caring without the human touch?
Compassion and caring without human touch? If you teach compassion and caring with touch, you have to do it very carefully. It can be done, but you have to do it very carefully. It requires wisdom to do it properly. If you don't have wisdom yet, then don't do it. You cannot teach caring and compassion yet. You don't quite know how to teach yet. Did I answer the question or not? You understand what I'm talking about? Huh? You say, I want to help someone. I want to teach someone about caring and compassion. I said, another way to answer is, you can't teach. You're not ready to teach caring and compassion yet. Therefore, don't teach. That's the no touching thing. Am I clear? You only touch because there's a need there, okay? Saving of someone's life, okay, and so forth, in danger and so forth. But otherwise, don't touch. That's all. You don't have enough wisdom yet. Wait until you have wisdom yet. Just because you think it's important to be caring and compassionate, to be kind and compassionate, doesn't mean that you can help teach people to become kinder and more compassionate. It's a different skill set. You have to be patient and wait. Any other questions? Okay. So that's provisional. Provisional in Mahayana is called temporary. I will make an exception right now in order to help you. But you should know that's not the rule. It's an exception, what I'm telling you. Okay? So that's what happened to the Buddha. He looked at, if you will, they give you an analogy. When you try to talk to kids, okay, you talk differently than you were to talk to adults. Yes? That's how it is. Kids can go so far. Do you have any kids there in Go Forest? TTT. See? Conk has some kids there. Okay? So with children, we talk to them differently, yes? Than adults. Same thing. The Buddha bestowed provisional teaching is because the people who were there were only capable of absorbing provisional teaching. So the Buddha, it's like he had to wait until they grow a little bit bigger, have better capacity before he can teach them the actual, the complete truth. Actual is the complete, if you will. Is that clear? That's all. It's just common sense. Don't be offended. It's just that, hey, I may be a kid right now, but eventually I grow bigger and I will be able to handle the bigger teaching. So what? Now I'm a kid, so what? Okay? That's all. And I fail to understand why the Hinayana people are so offended that we call the Hinayana. The fact they're offended tells you they cannot handle the big picture. That's why they're offended. This is one very simple test. You tell them about the provisional versus actual. This really? Why do you call me provisional? My teaching, my Pali teaching provisional. And you're offended by it, then that means that you cannot handle the whole teaching. That's why. That's all you have. That's all you can handle. Very much like when you talk to a kid. You cannot tell them about, PhD level of courses. You only tell them about smaller, kids type of materials. That's all. Okay? And whether you're angry or not, whether you complain or not, it doesn't change Buddhist teachings. The Buddha has always taught it this way. So, no need to get afflicted. I don't get afflicted when people complain to me. and insult me and say, why do you call us a Hinayana? I'm calling you Hinayana because that's what you are. Your samadhi level is only that of Hinayana. You can be wearing clothes like me. You can be the same lineage as I am. But your level of comprehension is that of Hinayana. That's why we call you Hinayana, like the Buddha. That's all. No offense. Nothing personal. And if you don't get offended, eventually we teach you the rest of the story. We tell you the rest of the story. That's all. If you get offended, tough luck. Next lifetime, hopefully. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Let's continue. 272. If one considers this in terms of containing, then this sutra also contains sound hearers because it can include limitless vehicles.
若曰此舍乃至声闻，亦此经舍乃能包含无量乘故。
Okay, 273. This Avatamsaka Dharma, the sutra we're exploring here, we're investigating here, is a bodhisattva store, meaning it has a full spectrum of the Buddhist teaching we call Mahayana, okay, which includes Hinayana. Hinayana is down here, okay? Guess what? Hinayana is very important to Mahayana because Hinayana is a part of the foundation of Mahayana. That's why we never would slight Hinayana, look down upon Hinayana, say you are small. How did you become an adult? Because you went through puberty, did you? You know what puberty is? Never mind. Puberty. No? What's the matter with Koreans? They don't understand these important terms. Puberty. You become a teenager. How's that? Okay? And before you reach puberty, I call it puberty, because there's some children here. I don't want to offend children. Okay? I use different pronunciation. Puberty, okay? And before you reach puberty, you have to go through childhood. That's just how we evolve. That's how we all have to evolve, right? It's no big deal. Okay? So that's why, because we say the Bodhisattva store has the whole ball of wax, that means it also contains the sound hearers as well. Okay? And that's part, again, as I said, the sound hearers is a basis of, part of the basis of the Bodhisattva store, part of the basis, part of the foundation of the Mahayana. Hinayana is an integral part of Mahayana. Mahayana cannot exist without Hinayana. Okay? But it's not just Hinayana. If you break it down to more vehicles, okay, more different types of teachings, then the Bodhisattva store actually contains all those. And guess what? Just for your reference, the Hinayana store here, down here, actually contains the non-Buddhist teachings as well. Did you know that? That's what we don't reject. The yogis don't reject the Tai Chi, don't reject the Taoists and so forth. That's part of Hinayana. Shh. We are all embracing. We don't say, you are Christian, you are Taoist, you are Korean. You're Tibetan. No, it's all part of Bodhisattva store. All part of it. We acknowledge them. Christianity, Judaism, Islam, it's a subset of the Hinayana teaching. Did you know that? All the core principles that help them non-Buddhist practitioners attain the highest level of concentration, it can be explained in terms of the Hinayana doctrines, all contained there. For example, case in point, the 10 Commandments are actually derived from the 5 precepts we have. You look at the 5 precepts, you really study the 5 precepts and compare them to the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments actually can be compressed and reduced to the 5 precepts. All the 10s, okay, are actually extraneous. They don't need to specify, be so wordy. They can be compressed. We call them 5 precepts. Actually, our 5 precepts, in other words, contain the 10 Commandments. So, if you understand that, why on earth would you try to convert a Christian to Buddhism? Seriously? If they practice the 10 Commandments purely, they're practicing the 5 precepts. Why do you have to convert them? We should encourage them to practice the 10 Commandments. Look, we only have one church here. They have how many churches in Los Angeles, in Rosemead? Thousands. Can we handle them all? We can't. They should stay over there. Is that clear? You have the big picture. You have the big picture. You don't need to discriminate anymore. You don't need to say, I'm Korean. I'm a girl. I'm an it. We don't discriminate. We don't care. And that's Mahayana. That's Buddhism. Isn't that cool? Relax, man. Relax, girl, woman, boys. It's okay. Embrace. Embrace them all. Jesus or not, we still embrace them. His name is Jesus. Don't you know that? Huh? South Carolina. We call it Jesus, but I look at him as he's Jesus. Okay? That's why in Mahayana, last closing comment, in Mahayana, if you have wisdom, what happens? What happens when you have wisdom? Hey! Hello. She ignores me again. But guess what? It doesn't offend me at all. Not now. Not in front of you. I make her pay later. That's a middle way. In front of you, I'm calm and cool, collected. After, it's a different story. Okay. So, that's why Buddhism, Mahayana, is all embracing. We accept everyone. We embrace everyone. We don't reject anyone. We accept as who you are. And what is the word for that? Relax, man. Don't try so hard. Embrace them all. We are not gods. We don't need to make them into our own image. They have Jesus already. That's enough. Okay? That's why the higher you get, what happens? The more relaxed, more all-embracing you become. You don't feel threatened by people who look down upon you. Okay? So, that's why it's no big deal. What is the big deal? It's okay. And that's the one teacher, one man I admire is my master, Master YongHua. He is the most relaxed person I have ever met. There's no tension at all. My disciple, she's erect like this. And it put so much pressure on me. I was telling her today at lunch, I said, well, every time I look at you, I naturally go like this. So much pressure. You know what I mean? But my master, he would not be pressured. He's the most relaxed person. It's no big deal. Yeah? And they attack you, make you feel bad. Hey, relax, man. Yeah. Okay, I feel bad. Eventually you get tired, I feel better. Got that? Problem is that you don't reject them. Your problem, you reject them. You say, I don't want to feel bad. Hey, I feel bad. What's the big deal? That helps? Okay, that's the next level, by the way. Okay? Embrace it. Because it's not forever. All right, we stop here tonight. Thank you all.